Hello and welcome to Western Perspective. I'm Nelson Liu. Thanks for joining us. Making big decisions is what a magistrate does for a living, and Tim Schwass is preparing to make them for the City of Perth. Despite being one of the older candidates for the council's mayoral campaign, Tim says he's been around young people all of his life and promises to make the city relatable to Perth's youth. In the next part of our local government series, I talk to Tim about how he'll translate his experience from the head of the courtroom to the head of the council. So Tim Schwass, thank you for joining us today.
It's a pleasure.
Okay, so you're running for Mayor for the City of Perth. Why should you be the next Lord Mayor?
I say I'm the best qualified. I've got the legal background, 30 years as a magistrate. I understand good governance. The $7.2 million inquiry found that the previous council was lacking good governance, and that's what I am the best equipped to provide.
What is your vision for Perth if you win?
Well, the vision for Perth is all set out on my website, and it goes for ages, but essentially we need to revitalise the city, we need to find homes for the homeless, and we need to do everything we can to get the shopping public to come back into Perth.
A lot of the candidates don't have political experience, and you're one of them as well.
Now, we all have no experience in local government, let's be clear about that. It's an unusual election to have so many candidates for mayor, 7, and none with any local government experience. And I say that my experience as a magistrate qualifies me as the best candidate.
Do you believe that puts you head and shoulders above everyone else?
I don't think it's head and shoulders, I just want to be a little bit in front.
Okay, so a lot of the other candidates are promising to address a lot of the similar issues like homelessness and revitalising Perth. What makes your plan unique?
In relation to homelessness, there's two things. One is that I'm going to repurpose the mayoral car as a van, going to be donated or relinquished to the Homeless Alliance, or the Alliance to End Homelessness. That'll be a fully serviced vehicle and be used to take the homeless people to the supported temporary accommodation that we need to find. I've also said that we would consider, excuse me, so what happens when you do it outside, I would look at local laws when we have sufficient temporary supported accommodation for the people that choose to camp on the streets of Perth. They would be offered a choice of coming to the supported accommodation or being taken to the magistrate's court.
A lot of young people are going to be voting in this local government election. Why should they vote for you?
Well, because I'm the one that will be the best mayor. I'll be there full time. I've got the experience, I've got the lived experience of working with all sorts of people. My 10 years prosecuting child abuse cases gives me insights that the others don't have. My 30 years as a magistrate gives me further insights, and I have the time and the energy to do what is needed.
Do you think that you're going to be able to relate to the young people?
I've related to young people all my life, and of course they're not that young, though. They have to be 18, those that vote, but of course the City of Perth is striving to get families to live in Perth to balance it out. At the moment the people are either under 35 and then 65 plus, and the ones in between, the families have to leave Perth to go to the suburbs where the schools are, so that needs to change so the city becomes more balanced.
Is there anything in your campaign that you haven't told anyone yet that you would like to say today?
The only thing that hasn't been really picked up is I'm very keen to have a dog park. I'm familiar with a dog park. I go to one every afternoon, and Perth is crying out for one. There's 524 dogs down there in East Perth. There are no off-leash areas, and Langley Park can accommodate a dog park there. The old pump shed can be repurposed into a coffee kiosk, and a dog park is great not only for the dogs but more importantly for the community. It provides an opportunity for everybody to socialise and becomes very much part of the community.
And finally, what's your pitch to the community in the City of Perth?
Before you vote, have a look at my website and look at everybody else's website, see who's got the substance, who's got the slogans.
Tim Schwass, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
And now, the AMAWA's President, Dr. Andrew Miller, provides his weekly COVID-19 update.
Hi, I hope you're enjoying this holiday long weekend in Western Australia like I am. Quick trip to Roto, can't recommend it highly enough. Just been watching whales off the beach here. We do live in an incredible part of the world, incredibly lucky, of course, because of our isolation and our border control at the moment. Coming under threat a bit in Port Hedland right now, a number of crew members off a ship in hotel quarantine. Hopefully none of them will get very unwell and need to go into hospital for their sake and also for our sake, because Port Hedland, very vulnerable area. High Indigenous population with a lot of significant health needs. Will be a disaster if any COVID gets loose in that community. So hopefully the state government here has learnt from what's been going on in Victoria and have in place a very rigorous system to prevent that infection getting out of hand, and a system that accepts that this can spread by droplet as well as airborne. So airborne being that it can remain in the air in certain situations where it's stagnant and it's indoors, particularly when it's been crowded, and that people can catch this just by breathing in the air where someone's been talking to them. So we need to be realistic about that. We need to be providing really high quality and a high level PPE, as well as other risk controls, not just in Port Hedland but in other places where this can break out. We've got to remember probably at the most about 20 million people around the world have had this disease so far, and that's a drop in the ocean for the number of human beings there are. So there's going to be more and more and more COVID coming to our shores on ships and on other essential flights and so on that bring people in. And we need to have just a very sustainable way of dealing with that, along with a smart border. So here's hoping that we'll be able to learn from what's happened in Victoria, where they tried to point the finger at everybody else rather than someone in particular taking responsibility. It's cost the scalp of the health minister over there eventually. But it's just a shame during the organisation of all of that the public servants and the ministers weren't able to effectively set up what was a very obvious need, being the control of COVID where we know the COVID is. So for us right now, that's in hotels in Perth and in Port Hedland, and we really hope that they're throwing every bit of resource at that in order to keep it under control, because once it gets into the community, because of asymptomatic spread, because people don't necessarily get symptoms with this, because others may not come forward even if they do have symptoms because they think it's just a cold, and because of the easy way with which it can spread through the community via aerosols and droplets, we really must be very careful with those that we know are positive sitting around in those situations. Moving forward, we're hoping that the government will get going with the fit testing of the N95 masks and will permit the use of those masks for people dealing with COVID patients. That's by no means a given at the moment. We're still discussing that with the government, and so we hope that the public will put a bit of pressure on them to say, look, give the doctors and nurses and all the other people in the hospitals top of the line PPE, such as the Australian PPE that's used in Singapore, ironically, but not allowed to be used down here in our hospitals yet. So let's get on with it. We've had a nice little holiday from COVID in Western Australia, but all of the freedoms that we enjoy are dangling by a thread if we let this disease out into our community as they did in Victoria. So have a great long weekend, stay safe, talk to you again next week.
And that's all for this week. We'll be back with another episode of WP next time, but until then, it's back to you.
Thank you very much, Nelson. So Matty, how do you find it?
Ivan, I've had a wonderful time working with you, and I hope the viewers enjoyed it too.
I'm glad you enjoy it. And that's our weekly news and current affairs. For news anytime, you can visit our website and social media pages.
Now, Sarah will be back next weekend. In the interim, have a great week.
Wish you good health and take care.